Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice Radio. So today we're talking about all of the Deoxys. Yeah, we've got that Deoxys deck, which is being released in Japan soon. And basically what we've got here is Deoxys V, and Deoxys Vmax, and Deoxys Vstar. This was, we saw a listing for this a little while ago, and there was a big question, what does it mean when it says Vstar and Vmax deck? Have we got some weird Vmax Vstar hybrid deck? Have we got... No, it's literally just, there is a Vstar, and there is a Vmax. And that's literally it. But you know what? If you're a fan of Deoxys here, I've got wonderful, wonderful news. Translations, of course, from the lovely Antoine Boulet. We are fans of the lovely Antoine Boulet. So starting off then with Deoxys. I should say I did try some of these translations myself, but we're crediting Antoine because, let's face it, I did not do the bulk of these translations. 210 HP is fine. It's a bit less than we'd like. 220 is on the high end, but this is fine. And then we've got 2 energy, 30 damage, plus 30 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. It's Psychic. It is that classic Psychic attack that we've seen on approximately 1 billion different Pokemon cards throughout the years. It's fine. It's not great. It's fine. It's okay. It will do. Basically, this attack exists as a check for your opponent. If your opponent is attaching too much energy, if they're building up one big Pokemon to take advantage, things of that nature, out you come and you shut them down with Psychic. It's always there as an option. It's not always going to work. Your opponent is not always going to have enough energy on their active to make this worthwhile. If they've got 1 energy on, you're doing 60 damage. 2 energy, you're doing 90. This takes a while to add up. Obviously, if you're hitting for weakness, it's better. It's fine. But this is not an attack about which we can get really excited. It's an attack that we look at and go, ooh, I'm going to bear that in mind. That could be good. There are going to be situations where this could work. And you know what? That'll do very nicely, ladies and gentlemen. That'll do very nicely indeed. But then we've got a second attack on the Pokemon V here. Free energy 140. Yeah, less said about that, the better. That's not good. That's not why we're playing the card. You need a choice bout to get a KO on a Luminion. And if I'm putting free energy on a 2-prize Pokemon and I still need a choice bout to just... It's not even getting a KO, it's just getting a KO on a Luminion, I think that tells us everything we need to about the attack. So let's move on to the VMAX, shall we? Now, with the VMAX, we are going up to a much more respectable 330 HP. It's not quite as high as we've seen 340, but it ain't too bad. But you also have a lovely ability here, Protective DNA. Your Pokemon in play take 30 less damage from attacks by your opponent's Pokemon Vstar. And that is all of your Pokemon in play. Every single one of your Pokemon takes 30 less damage from your opponent's Pokemon Vstar. Well, that's pretty important, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty important. Because 30 damage, firstly, can be absolutely relevant. And secondly, as we move forward and rotate and all of that, VMAXs are apparently still coming, but they are far rarer than they used to be. We are now in a V-Star format. I'm not saying nobody plays VMAXs, but I am saying that V-Stars are ruling the format. If we look at the top decks at the moment, you got Arceus V-Star, you got Palkia V-Star, and sure, Mew VMAX is still very much out there and running around and seeing play, but V-Stars are hyper relevant. This is really good. And at this stage, I've got to suggest to you, lovely ladies and gentlemen, if you're doing this, how about choosing Gardevoir as your Radiant Pokemon? Because Gardevoir says that all of your Pokemon take 20 less damage from your opponent's Pokemon V's attacks. So when you combine that with Deoxys here, your Pokemon are taking 50 less damage from your opponent's V-Star. That's really good. Just something to bear in mind. As for the attack, Psychic Double Colorless, 160, heal 30. It's not a lot of damage. To be fair, it's 2-hit KOing almost anything. The only thing you're not 2-hit KOing are Vmaxes, but you will with either a Choice Belt or a Hawlucha. Bearing in mind that's a Radiant Pokemon, so it's this or Gardevoir. It's fine. I mean, what they're clearly going for here is 2-hit KOing while tanking. Because you got 330 HP, which is really high. And you're taking 30 less from Vstar, which is clearly good. So yeah, it's alright. You need to tank. It's as simple as that. And tanking isn't always going to work, but it might. We saw tanky Stonejourner decks doing well at Milwaukee Regionals recently. This could be better than that, surely. I mean, it's kind of awkward, the energy cost. You do have 2 colorless energy, so double turbo will work. It will also reduce the damage you do by 20, but it will work. That would be nice. Obviously, you've got stuff like Cresselia, which in the early game can accelerate energy. And you've got stuff like Shadow Rider Calyrex, although do please remember that that is a free prize Pokemon sitting out there your opponent can KO. So, please do bear that in mind. But the theory here is that you're taking less damage, which is why I think you really need Gardevoir. You're healing as you go, and there is actually an item card which seems tailor-made for this, Suspicious Food Tin. Heal 80 from one of your Pokemon that has at least 1 Psychic Energy attached, and then discard a Psychic Energy. So, if you combine this with Gardevoir and Suspicious Food Tin, you got 330 HP, you're taking 50 less damage from Vstar, and you're healing 110 damage per turn? Maybe at that stage, maybe this can work. And I still think it's really awkward because you could end up just getting 1-hit KO'd by really big stuff. And you're still not doing a huge amount of damage. You are really locked into 2-hit KOing. But if you're looking for a new tank deck, this could legitimately work. Stonejourner did. Maybe this can as well. But we don't just have a Vmax, we also have a Vstar. Does that fill our heart with joy and excitement? Well, we've got 270 HP, which is once again 10 away from the max we tend to see. That's the case with all the Deoxys cards. And what we've got here is 2 Psychic, 1 Colorless Energy, Psy Javelin. 190 to the active, 60 to a bench Pokemon V. But 190 just so happens to be a pretty gosh darn relevant amount of damage. Because if you add a Choice Belt onto there, you're doing 220, and 220 is the magic number to get an automatic 1-hit KO on any Pokemon V. Pretty much. So I actually really like this. Because now what I'm doing is I'm KOing a Pokemon V. Yay! While I am also hitting 60 to the bench, and for what it's worth, once you hit 60 to the bench, then any Pokemon V-Star, the highest we see is 280, so they'll be brought from 280 down to 220, and then you can KO them with a Choice Bout with this. So I think the numbers here on Deoxys work beautifully. The VMAX, I can take it or leave it, is nice for tanking, but the V-Star, you work a Choice Bout, and you do need a Choice Bout, that is a big downside. But being able to one-hit KO any Pokemon V while bringing any Pokemon V-Star into range, yes! That's really, really, really good. You do only hit to the bench Pokemon V, not regular bench Pokemon. That is important to note. We've then got a V-Star power, 1 Psychic Energy, 60 damage for each energy attached to both active Pokemon. Now, as an attack to keep your opponent's energy attachments in check, I like this way more than I like Psychic on the Pokemon V. Because, firstly, I can boost it up by attaching energy to myself. That's a good thing. And secondly, it just does way more damage. Like, if my opponent's got 3 energy on, which is really not unreasonable, and I've got 1 energy on, that's 240. If I've got 2 energy and they've got 3, that's 300. Most of the time, 300 is going to be enough. And with a Choice Bout and a Hawlucha, it will always be enough. That'll KO anything. Unless they're blocking you for some reason. So, yeah. I really like Deoxys V-Star. I'm still not loving... We've got plenty of ways to accelerate Psychic Energy at the moment. I just don't love any of them. You know, I don't like having to play Shadow Rider Calyrex. I don't... Because it's a free prize Pokemon that can be gusted and KO'd. I don't love Cresselia because it's really kind of an early game thing mostly. but I do think we've got some options for accelerating energy, and I think Deoxys Vstar is really good. So now that I like Deoxys Vstar, I go back and have a look at Deoxys Vmax, and I'm like, maybe? Because you know what? All I really need to do is play Gardevoir as my Radiant Pokemon of choice, knowing that that will make some Pokemon VMAX more awkward because I'm not playing Hawlucha, and then just whack like 4 Suspicious Food Tin into my deck, maybe a couple of Hyper Potion, and all of a sudden I can really tank with the VMAX. Or if that's not working, if I'm against a deck where that's not working, I can go aggro with the V-Star, and I'm hitting perfect numbers a lot of the time, and maybe between them they can work. I'm giving them 4 Wassies. I like the combo. I don't love the VMAX because I think that tanking... I'm not a huge fan of tank decks because all it takes is one Pokemon that can buff their own damage and you're done. But I absolutely am a fan of the V-Star here, and I think together they could work quite nicely indeed. I should also remind you there is that new Tool Card Camo Poncho. When you attach it to a V-Star or V-Max, you prevent all effects of supporter cards done to them. So it's mostly for bosses' orders, stop them being gusted up. There will be some cards that remove energy or put special conditions on, etc. Mostly this is there for stopping bosses' orders. And honestly, how is this a card that exists to help VMAX and V-Star only? That's a bit annoying. Like I said with Zero Aura, I do think this is actually less useful because you are kind of reliant on your choice bout here. But, you know, could be fun. For now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about this, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.